We hope that this tree will grow through the 500 years that olive trees can grow. We are basically asserting a safe space. We are asserting an anti-apartheid free space, anti-apartheid zone, free apartheid space. And also symbolically a place at the epicenter of our liberation and resistance where our forefathers and foremothers fought for our country. This has been declared a hero's acres for the liberation and resistance. People who have fallen in our struggles in this country, including the first country wars that were fought here, but also for the thousands upon thousands of Palestinians who have been subjected and are currently at the receiving end of an unfolding genocide. So before we formally start, we can just have some time together. I'd like to ask Mr. Khalil, who is the representative of the World Brickwork House. Perhaps, if you don't mind, Khalil, would you like to say a prayer for us?
I don't mind.
To start. Thank you.
I think we can sit.
You can sit.
Okay. Hi, kids. I'm Princess Shanae from the Brickwork Council of the East UK. I am tremendously honored to say something and to recognize and acknowledge where we're standing. The ground that we stand on is still an occupied territory. South Africa is still very much in occupied territory. And we speak from occupation to occupation. And for us right now, just to be here and just to stand and to be as free as we are right now is the ultimate sign of resistance. And looking at every one of us here today, we are a symbol of the resilience of our ancestors, the ones that survived, come from them. And we also acknowledge the ancestors that died singing, and those that died crying, and those that died screaming. I'd like to acknowledge this beautiful piece of land that we're standing on that is in the Haipona territory. We acknowledge the genocide and the biowarfare and the 371 years of oppression inflicted upon our beloved people. We also stand in solidarity for what happens to the people in Palestine and our continued struggle for freedom. Atuatama Kamske, Aluta Continua. The struggle continues. Can we please sing a song in my native tongue, Nama? It says, thank you God, I praise you. It goes like this. Dandanti, Kotati, Tielote, 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 Dandanti, Kotati, Tielote, 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 Tielote. Hi, Gazans.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. So, we'll now formally start. Are we doing like this?
I'll stop.
Okay.
I think I'm on the wrong spot.
So, welcome everybody. This is the Cape Town edition of the Gaza Monologues in solidarity with ASHTAR Theatre in the occupied territories of Palestine. We stand here in solidarity with you. We will read the words that you have given us. It is a great honor for us to stand here as South Africans, as indigenous people, at the sacred river of the Liesbeek. On our left is the Table Mountain, and just to introduce the context of where we are standing in a place called Tamirori Kayas, which in Nama means the place of the stars. This is also an epicenter of liberation and resistance for South Africans. It is the place where the first Khoi-Dutch Wars broke out in 1659 between the Dutch East India Company and the indigenous Khoi in the area. The Gorinaikwa, the Gorinaikona, the Kochokwa, the Kaikorana, and the Gorinaikona. We here stand in solidarity with the unfolding genocide in the Gaza. The artists that have gathered are artists who have decided that they will elect to publicly read these monologues and to share what has touched our hearts very deeply, and to share our resonance and full commitment and support in terms of the struggles of the Palestinian people. We would just like to say thank you very much. Also to African Artists Against Apartheid, to Save Our Sacred Lands, and to all the entities that are here present. And as you introduce yourself, please introduce yourself, say a few words of who you are, why you're here. If you do represent an organization, let us know. And we will stand by each speaker next to this olive tree that we have planted. This is your tree. To the people of the Gaza, this is our tree. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are free to come here anytime. You are free to leave here anytime. You are safe here with us. And we want you to be safe here with us for the next 500 years with this tree. And as we go along sharing these monologues around the city, we would want to plant more of these trees that will become nodal points in terms of our solidarity and resistance. We love you, we feel you, and know that this is your home as it is our home. And ultimately, we read these poems with deep sadness of the unfolding genocide and the deaths that have occurred. But we also read these poems because we want you to come to this olive tree alive. We want you alive with us, and you will always be alive with us. Cake and gas.
My name is Megan Horitz, and I represent the South African Jews for a Free Palestine. Monologue 19. Fatima Atala, born in 1996, Sheikh Radwan. Gaza's fish ran away, but people were not able to. They opened the sewage into the sea, and if the sea could talk, it would tell them, "Shame on you for what you are doing to Gaza and me." Instead of music and acting schools, Gaza became a school for shooting and murder. I'm very scared by nature. I'm scared of cockroaches and birds, and I worry day and night. The first day of the war, all the girls went home except me. I was the last one to leave school. I was sitting there, shaking, couldn't stand on my legs. Finally, I felt that if I don't help myself, no one would. I gathered my courage and stood up, shaking, and walked like a tree in the wind, all of me trembling. People were walking near me, but no one felt me. The sounds of rockets got louder, and the horror in my heart grew deeper. Usually, the distance from school to my house is half an hour, but that day I got home in 15 minutes because of my fear. It was the time I was the most scared in my life. Every second I thought I would die. It was the first time I feel this terrible loneliness, even though the streets were full of people. I got home and stood at the window. A rocket fell near our house, and I flew off the ground and landed on my back. For the whole war, I couldn't stand at the windows. I started sleeping in an inner room that doesn't have a single window. I think I'm still scared till today, but I pretend not to be.
My name is Amrin Ishmael Esot. To our brothers and sisters in Gaza, these are your words, these are your voices. We hear you and we amplify. Reem Afana, born 1996, Al-Saftawi Street. When I was young, I used to feel that I was the happiest child in the world. But the more I grow and my mind grows, the more my worry grows. Because I start to understand things that I did not. I started to know the meaning of a deprived child. The thing that upsets me and makes me cry the most are children's tears. All children in the world, regardless of their nationality, religion, or color. When I grow up, I want to be a pediatrician, and that's the hope that gives me a big push in life. Even though I'm fed up, bored, or sad, because Gaza doesn't have life anymore. Yesterday I was sitting in school, and I heard the sound of planes. I got really scared. I wanted to run away from school. I felt that I was going to die because I remembered the war. The scenes of the war won't leave my mind. On the third day of the war, my family was sitting together, talking about what was happening in the war. And my grandmother was reassuring us so we wouldn't be scared. We were actually calmed, even though the sound of rockets did not stop. But my grandmother's warm voice was calming us. The phone rang. The lines never caught in the war. So when we heard the sound of the phone, we were happy. Hello? Yes? This is the Israeli Defense Army. You have 5 minutes to clear the house. It's for your own benefit. We have warned you. I couldn't stand on my legs anymore. Everyone in the house started yelling. My grandmother was the first to run away. It was the first time I'd seen her going so fast. My dad held me, and my sisters told us not to be scared. He was pulling me to leave, but I was going to die if I didn't take my teddy bear with me. I felt that I would betray him if I left him under the bombing. I escaped from Dad's hands and ran to my bear, took him in my arms and left. We all got far away from the house and sat down to wait for 5 minutes. They were the longest 5 minutes in history. They became 10. We felt like they were years that passed. I was in a whirlwind. Thoughts and dreams were thrashing about in my head, and the world was spinning. I felt that the dream of being a doctor was very, very far away. I held the bear and remembered myself when I was small, how I was always laughing. I wanted to go back to being small and stay small. I don't want to grow up. But the only thing that comforted me was the love of people who didn't leave us for one moment. Gaza is full of love.
Hi everybody, it's good to be here. It's good to be here in solidarity and in grief. My name is Nina Callahan, and to our brothers and sisters in Gaza, your Masood inspires my Masood. Steadfastness is what we recognize. Steadfastness for the justice and peace that our world needs. And thank you. This monologue is by Ehab Elayan, born 1994, Al-Safkawi Street. From when I first became aware of the world, I've had limited thinking. Life for me was to be born, to grow up, get married, have kids, work, raise them, feed them, educate them, marry them off, and then die. But after the war, I found that life is much, much harder than that. It turned out that every small step we take has a million knots behind it. I'm scared of not finding work when I grow up, because wherever I go, I see men sitting in front of their houses with nothing to do. It's what scares and saddens me the most. That's why kids in Gaza took responsibility and were denied their childhood since birth. My mother always used to say, Ehab, he's the best of my kids. Why? Because I was always home. Never had any problems. When the war started, my father locked us up at home because of how scared he was for us. 2 hours later, I was bored. I went out to walk around our house, but this time, the walk was different. I was afraid to walk near the cars in case they were bombed. And all the time, I kept looking up at the sky in case a plane would come and bomb me without knowing. I was terrified, even though the Saftawi district didn't see a lot of activity. I went back home running as though from something terrifying and stayed at home till the war was over. After the war, my life changed a lot. My relationship with people and the neighbors improved. I became known to the men of the neighborhood and started playing checkers with the old people. I started spending all my time outside the house. Can't stay inside for a minute. And my mother stopped saying, Ehab is the best of all my kids. I discovered that I didn't exist before the war. But after the war, here I am. God protect me. In the city, breathing its air, singing, dancing, and crying with it. And life is rolling onwards. Ooh.
My name is Peter Runt, and I have the privilege of reading the words of Mahmoud Balawi, born 1995 in Ashati camp. I want to write the most beautiful words about Gaza, but I can't. I can't not see the poverty, siege and famine, especially when all Gaza city flooded into Al Arish and emptied it from all goods in 2 hours. I can't not see the deprivation in every house, the fear and the sickness. What do you want me to say about Gaza? From when I became aware of it, I was sad about everything inside it, especially the kids and even the adults, youth, women, girls, animals, stones and trees. Everything in it is crying. I'm looking for nice words to say and I can't find them. The sea is the only thing that helps me dream. When I stand on the shore, I can imagine Cyprus, travel to Paris, fly to Rome, all while standing in the same spot. I go around the whole world, and in the end I land on my bed in our house, in the middle of the refugee camp. I go back to the reality of Gaza, the dirty market, overflowing sewage, the carts, and what's on top of the carts, the suffocating smell and the silent people who can't speak. When I look at the clock, and it's 11:55, I start shaking and my heart beats faster. I feel that the war started again. Not only the clock scares me, everything that flies does, even the flies. I can't tell anyone about my fear so they don't call me a wimp or a sissy. I'm most scared for my older brothers. When a fly lands on any of them, I feel it's going to kill him. I start shouting and I run away from the place. That's why I'm now escaping outside the house all the time, because of the many flies.
Hello everyone, my name is Nabila Jacobs and I'm a fourth year medical student and I stand here today to be a voice for the people in Palestine. So today I'll be reading a monologue by ASHTAR Theatre, born 1994, in Alvida Street. All the neighborhood kids loved him. He was calmer than a breeze. He would take his pocket money from my father and give it to me. Everyone loved him. His friends came and he went with them to school. They went out running like butterflies, flying off the ground like the world was created for them. The Israeli planes were in the air. The sound of a helicopter was like a monster waiting to pounce on its prey. A car of wanted men was driving along Yarmouk Street, and the butterflies were near the car. The butterflies didn't know that this car would be the fire that would burn them. A rocket fell on the car. My brother Tariq flew 5 meters off the ground. He flew higher than the car that came down walking. Nothing was the matter with him. The ambulance came and took the corpses. People told him to get to the ambulance, but he told them, nothing is the matter with me, and he kept going to school. 100 meters later, he put his hand on his heart and fell down a martyr. I was in the street, waiting for the school bus, and my sister told me to go see what's going on. I did, but I didn't see Tariq, and I went on to school. While I was in class, my uncles came and told me, you will take 3 days off school. I didn't suspect anything. We got in the car. My uncle told the driver to turn off the news. Then I started getting suspicious because my uncle loves the news. We got home and there was a big crowd of people around. Before I went down, I saw my father sitting on the chair crying. It was the first time I saw my father cry, and he was holding the picture of my brother Tariq. I asked him, Dad, was my brother martyred? He said, God have mercy on his soul. The ambulance brought him from the hospital. We all ran to him to say goodbye. He was sleeping like an angel, with a book that he'd been carrying still in his hands. My father refused to let us go with him to the cemetery, but I got in his car and went and said goodbye to him and read the Fatiha prayer on the grave. I kept going for 3 months every day to sit at his grave and talk to him. At night, I stare at his picture in the room with the hero martyr Tariq written on it. Since my brother was martyred, I got used to sleeping in the bed alone. We used to sleep one on top of the other, legs on top of heads. Sometimes it felt like our limbs would jumble together. But today, I have a bed all by myself. I'll never forget my brother.
Good everyone. My name is Nawal Jacobs and I'm a 4th year medical student. So today I'll be reading a monologue by Ahmad Taha, born 1996 in Al-Daraj. All my life, I thought Gaza was the biggest and most beautiful city in the world. But once, I went with my dad to Jaffa and came back with my head spinning. After that, I felt that Gaza was the size of a needle hole and wasn't beautiful, and it keeps getting smaller and worse. No one can breathe, and on top of it all, we're not allowed to travel. Every time I walk through the streets of Gaza, I suffocate. Jaffa's picture won't leave my mind. I ask myself, where are we? We're so far from the rest of the world. That's why I'm always at the sea, because I feel like it's not from Gaza. I keep writing my name on the sand, and the waves come and erase it. Before the war, I wanted to be an electronics engineer, but since the war, I hate going to school. I feel like I won't be anything important in my life, and even if I will, so what? It's all the same in this city. Am I going to be the prettiest flower on a garbage heap? When the bombing began, all the schools in Gaza went home, except us. The principal wouldn't let us leave. The kids freaked out, and in a second, they went out into the school courtyard. The weird thing is that I'm in the Zaytuni school, the one near the Ministry of Passports, which got hit first. With the first hit, a piece of rocket flew onto the biggest tree in the school and sliced it in two like a sugar cane. As soon as we saw that, no one stayed in school. Students, teachers, or the principal. We fled for our lives. I thought the only martyr that I would see in the war is the tree. But as soon as I got home, there were 4 other martyrs in our street, as though waiting for me to say goodbye to them. When I was done with that, 3 more martyrs from the same family in our street arrived. As soon as we buried them and returned Our neighbor's house, 2 houses down the street, was bombed by the army, and the house was wiped off the ground. Everyone died. I felt most sad for the little girls. I felt the war was targeting me alone, out of all the people in Gaza. All day, I've been seeing martyrs. In the Al-Shifa hospital, I saw a sight that I will never forget. Hundreds of corpses, one on top of the other. Their flesh, their blood, and the bones all melting on each other. You wouldn't know the woman from the man, or even the child. Piles of flesh on the beds, and lots of people screaming and crying, not knowing where the kids are, their men or their women. That night, I came home from the hospital, and was awake till morning from fear. I thought that it would only be that night, and I couldn't sleep. But till today, I see them in front of me, and I can't sleep. Thank you.
Hi Tess, I am Kuses Shanae Creeling from the Griqua Royal Council of the Eastern Cape. I am really honored to be here today, and the reason why I am here today is for the beautiful souls that were martyred in Palestine. For a little girl named Green, whose grandfather lovingly said goodbye to her, saying, "Her soul was my soul." For the photojournalists that allow us the opportunity to see what is happening there, who've become part of my daily prayers to see if they are still alive. Their names are Bisan, Mutaz, Sali, and Wail. It's actually sad that we know them so intimately, that something so terrible would bring them closer to us. I'm here today to honor those that are voiceless, those that are martyred, and those who feel that their screams are not heard, their prayers are not heard. And I'd love to give them a message of hope, that we hear your prayer, we hear your cries, your pain is our pain. I'll be reading a monologue from Ahmed Al-Ruzi. He was born in 1993 of Al-Weda Street. Before the war, I used to feel that Gaza was my second mother. It was the ground that was warm, chest I could lay on, and its skies was my dreams without limits. The sea would wash away my worries, but today I feel it's in exile. I've stopped feeling its city of my dreams. In the war, the main electricity pole was hit by a huge rocket. All my uncles were at home with us, and the electricity went out. But there was another line working near to the house. I went to our neighbor and asked him for an extension so we could connect to the second line. Once we were connected, our house was lit, and he came to take the extension back. We had a huge fight. In war, everyone thinks about themselves. During the war, a lot of people had 20 bags of flour and never had a shortage of gas, whilst others didn't have a piece of bread. They were asking their neighbors for bread, and they wouldn't give them any. Most people locked up their things under lock and key and decided not to give anything to anyone. But others were good and helpful. Back to our topic. We didn't agree to return the connection to him, even though it was his extension that we were using. And for the first time, I realized how bad we could be. We were punished on the spot. The house next to ours was bombed and split into 2 pieces, and half of it fell on us. We left the connection and electricity, and everything ran away to my uncle's house to the next municipal park. My uncle's house is close to a government building, and in the evening, everyone started saying that the building would be bombed. And if it was bombed, my uncle's house might disappear from existence. We sat there not knowing what to do or where to go. My dad kept reassuring us, "Don't worry, don't be scared, nothing will happen." We stayed like that till midnight. We kept hearing rockets and explosions, and my dad kept saying, "Don't worry, don't be scared." But suddenly, he said, "Follow me, we're going back home." And he started shaking. We all started shaking with him. My mom started screaming, and my uncle was in really bad shape. Anyway, all of us ran away in the middle of the night with my uncle's family. We ran home. We couldn't believe it when we got home. Till today, I don't remember where we slept or how. The important thing was that we were away from that building. We found that our neighbor had taken the electricity connection and we spent the night in darkness while his house was lit. I felt he was right to take his connection back. After that, my dad got a connection complex. He bought 3 electric cables and 3 gas bottles, 2 electric pans, 20 neon lights, 20 packs of candles, 20 packs of cans, 10 packs of wires, 6 flashlights, and 2 boxes of batteries. We were living in war, and we have to be careful till things get better. I got a complex worse than all others. It's as though I was generous before the war, or maybe I didn't know the value of things, because I couldn't believe that there would be a day when I wouldn't find a drink of water or a piece of bread. But after the war, I became super careful with everything and anything. I started barely sweetening my tea. And if I broke a loaf of bread, I wasn't allowed to finish it. I lost my appetite for food and I became really economical. My dad says Ahmed always has this money pocket. Of course, because I will take it and save it in case there's another war. I feel like I'm married with 10 kids. I'm scared of life, of everything, of the smallest things. Always worried. I feel that all of Gaza is sitting on moving sands. Any madness you can imagine can happen in a second in this place. And a lot of dreams come true too. It's a strange city with no logic. China is now a third of the world, and they work but can barely make enough shoes and shirts for Gaza. Gaza consumes everything, and the world attacks it, but it keeps pretending nothing is wrong. Actually, Gaza is full of poverty, and there are people who pick their food from the garbage. The tragedy is that things keep getting worse, and the biggest tragedy is that there's nothing to stop that happening. Every pit has a bottom, except Gaza. I dream of living one day in freedom, and I think that's a big dream, but it's hard to come true. My dream is also to end Palestinian division, which is giving us schizophrenia. I'm tired of thinking, but I can't stop it. But we have to plea, and God will provide. And to you folks, goodbye.
Everyone, there's a beautiful Khoikhoi term which translates the struggle continues. If everyone can repeat after me. Tua, Atama, Kamske. Tua, Atama, Kamske. Tua, Atama, Kamske. Tua, Atama, Kamske. Okay, and usually we would call it, so I would call Tua Atama and the response is Kamske. Alright, one, and raise these flags, people. Let's hold them up. Even if it's for a few minutes when the readers are here, let us hold the reader together by holding up the flags, because that is the struggle. It might be uncomfortable for a few minutes, but while the reader is there, please just hold the reader, hold the struggle together. Tua Atama! Tuatama! Tuatama! Okay, Gazans. Who's next?
Sorry?
Okay. Sure, should I take the check? My name is Torik Jenkins. I'm a member of the Gorena Kona Khoikhoi Traditional Council. And this is a piece that really touched me, because just like Ali Abu Yassin, we both have an appreciation for Shakespeare. And this was written on the 11th of the 5th, 2023. as part of the Gaza Monologues that was submitted. From Gaza to Shakespeare. Help me, my friend. How can you be present after more than 500 years? You jump before my eyes with every image and every cry. I hear you screaming with the children and sharing their crying with their mothers, dressed in black like Hamlet's father, emerging from under the rubble carrying a child's toy. You appear from above the church bells ringing them, warning of their destruction. Standing above a minaret where nothing remains of the mosque except it, trying to help those who fell in a hospital courtyard. You are present everywhere, as if a group of ghosts has split up to force the world to stop the massacres and ethnic cleansing that are happening in Gaza. This is not a war. This is something else. When the witches predicted the Burnham Woods would move to King Macbeth's place, it is as if he predicted that Gaza City will move to the sea after all this destruction and death. There is not a house or building left that is not destroyed along with its residents. It is as if you predicted that Gaza would move to the sea. But when the forest moved, the soldiers won. Will it be the destroyed buildings laden with cement and iron, and the thousands of bodies still under the rubble of children, women, the elderly, and the fathers, and all these pure souls that will inevitably be swept into the sea after the end of the war, as is the custom of all buildings after every war? But the difference is time. Is that the buildings are mixed with flesh and blood and will be baptized by the sea. As is the price of our freedom, which we struggled for more than 70 years, was this baptism towards freedom. I do not know why the saying of the occupation, Prime Minister Rabin, comes to mind. How I wish I could wake up to find Gaza swallowed by the sea. Was everything that happened planned? Did you, Shakespeare, know that the price of freedom is the movement of cities and forests, and that still water is stagnant water? Yes, if this is the price of our freedom and dignity, we will pay it with appreciation, respect, and a desire to go towards the sun. Was aviation included in the movement as well? Well, the body of my friend Majed flew 100 meters into the air, and his body ended up on the balcony of the apartment, torn apart by a missile, then killed together with 120 members of his family. The war was not a Midsummer Night's Dream, but rather a terrifying, weeping nightmare. The main players of the show were some clowns, including airplanes, tanks, and battleships, throwing lava at children. How could you, William Shakespeare, write us in Romeo and Juliet and warn us of the ugliness of conflict between cousins, and that everyone will pay that price? The vision has changed, my friend. It has become much more difficult. The sounds of rockets make the heart jump in fear. The smell of gunpowder and the carcinogenic smoke forcibly penetrates your lungs. Phosphorus bombs, which are banned internationally, burn the green and dry land. Seeing your loved ones in pieces, your heart that is torn 1,000 times every day as if it were a piece of rubber. Get up, Shakespeare! Help me, my friend! I am tired. Resist with your wise pen, full of love, joy, revolution, humanity, hope, and freedom. Open. Maybe We will all become brothers under that blue sky. Okay, everyone, you stay. Is there anyone that would like to? Can you all come together as we conclude? I can see the people around. I can see around. Thank you everyone who has come to show this gathering. And for sharing in a very embodied way our simple and small but heartfelt and very genuine gesture of solidarity with Palestinians. We're not here with 200,000 or a million people, but we are here truly and honestly and genuinely connected to the struggle. Take these monologues and if you like to have it again today, upload it would you like to end us with a prayer?
I cannot even look at the beautiful car. And every day, my friend is studying. But I know that the Almighty has very is protecting our children because of this little baby that was under the rubble for 57 days. That's going to stop. We have Almighty out there protecting us. We need to go out and we need to tell our people to come out and support Palestine in their war. This is war. This is war of the highest rate. How do we assist other than protesting? How do we assist those people? Our government doesn't care. They don't care. They're supporting the Israelites, the criminals, the murderers. Our people are under the impression that this is a war of jihad. It's not a war of jihad. It's not. It's never been a war of jihad. Huh? Yet our people are dying by the thousands. How do we call out for help in our country if our government does not support? I pray that all of us are protected in the struggle for Palestine, for the Palestinians. I pray that we can find some alternate resolution and free Palestinians. I pray that our government, who is in support of it, God opens up their minds to see it's not about religion, it's about humanity. That's what it's about. So I'm very happy to be part, even though we are out and small. It's so powerful what is happening on our land, on our heritage land, that our government is sold off to them, to the Israelites. They sold it off. I just captured now on the way here, I captured that they're pushing for a Western Province power bill. A power bill. They want our participation. For what? For what? So they can dismantle whatever's happening in the unity in our country that we're trying to find. They want us to be part of that bill. We cannot. Our focus now is how do we assist our brothers and sisters and women and children dying out there. I'm helpless right now. Very helpless. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Gaza Monologues, Google Gaza Monologues, you'll find it. You can also go to the station there. Everything is